Litecoin was one of the initial cryptocurrency, is accepted almost everywhere, is listed on all the exchanges, is like a well-known currency people know exists.
The difference between Litecoin and Bitcoin is Litecoin, there's a larger supply and the fees are lower and it's faster. So it's easier for sending smaller amounts of money. And we are positioning Litecoin as a form of money that's great for payments.
Stablecoins might be helpful in terms of bridging the gap and making it easier to within the cryptocurrency system, or between the traditional finance and cryptocurrency world.
Recently, Canary Capital filed the first ever spot Litecoin ETF with the US Security Exchange Commission, potentially opening a new door for institutional investors. Today we are going to talk about Litecoin. With its 13th anniversary this year, Litecoin remains among the top cryptocurrencies and continue to attract attention, especially in payments. Basically, Litecoin was born as a fork of Bitcoin, meaning it was based on Bitcoin code but modified with a few key differences. First of all, faster block time, 2.5 minutes instead of 10 minutes. And second, an algorithm which makes money more accessible. And third, a bigger coin. And four, an increased coin supply to 84 million. Joining us today, and I'm really excited about it, is Charlie Lee, creator of Litecoin, and Alan Austin, managing director of Litecoin Foundation. We are going to discuss this development and the foundation vision for Litecoin future. With that being said, let's get to our interview. Great, Alan, Charlie, great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Well, big day today, right? With the election in the US and Mr. Trump becoming the president. So are you happy? Is that a happy day?
I think all of crypto is very happy today.
I agree.
I mean, most people, if you just look at the price, if the price goes up, people are happy. So
yeah, that's true. I think it's been definitely a day in the history, and hopefully we are going to see some positive change as well at the back of this event. Right. So let's go straight into today's topic. I met Alan at the Proof of Work Summit in Frankfurt, and Charlie, you were also doing one of the keynote speech, and we discussed about you both coming on the show to talk about Litecoin, how things has been developing over years, your focus on payments, and on the channel I have not yet talked about Litecoin, so I said why a great opportunity to educate our audience about the cryptocurrency and also all the recent development in the payments that I thought were really interesting. Definitely because payments is an industry that needs to be disrupted, and I think what you're doing is quite interesting. But let's maybe start with you, Charlie. You have created Litecoin in 2011 as an alternative to Bitcoin, mainly to improve some of its limitations. So tell us the full story of how Litecoin was born.
yeah, so Litecoin has been around since 2011. It's I would say the second longest cryptocurrency after Bitcoin. So in 2011, I created Litecoin kind of as a complement to Bitcoin. People used to call it silver to Bitcoin's gold. So just like how gold and silver were used in commerce a long time ago, I envisioned Bitcoin and Litecoin being used together as money, right? So the difference between Litecoin and Bitcoin is Litecoin, there's a larger supply and the fees are lower and it's faster. So it's easier for sending smaller amounts of money. And we are positioning Litecoin as a form of money that's great for payments.
Before we dive into today's interview, I'd like to introduce you to our partner, Hive Digital Technologies, a publicly listed company building the next generation data center infrastructure with 100% renewable energy. Hive was the first crypto miner to go public and the first one to have an AI strategy. With over 2,600 Bitcoin on their balance sheet and operations operations in Canada, Sweden, Iceland, and Paraguay, Hive is fully committed to transforming communities, rebalancing the energy grid, and delivering value to shareholders with a low dilution and cash focus approach. If you don't know Hive, check them out at hivedigitaltechnologies.com. Okay, so my question will be, because obviously I've been in the space for quite some time as well, not since 2011 though, but there has been a lot of experimentation and innovation in the Bitcoin ecosystem with layer 2s. They are making possible to build many things on Bitcoin, like for example they talk about tokenizing financial assets on Bitcoin. Do you still need an alternative to that, or better, what is specifically that Litecoin is championing and Bitcoin is still going to be struggling even with all the experimentation and innovation that is happening?
I think both Bitcoin and Litecoin are more targeted towards being money, right, where people will store value and use it for payments. There's definitely a lot of experimentation on top of other coins like Ethereum, using it as a kind of a world computer. But for Litecoin, the idea is it's going to be the best form of payment. So it's good for buying things, for spending money, and for storing value.
Okay, tell me more. We want to know everything about how are you innovating and disrupting the payment industry.
Yeah, so I guess when I first discovered Bitcoin, I saw it as one of the best form of money we've ever seen. So people are used to, way back when people would use gold as money, right? It's a form of it's a store of wealth where the government, no one has control over the supply, right? Unlike fiat currency today, where the Fed can print as much money as they want, and even in the last few years, they doubled the money supply because of COVID concerns, right? So that's something that would inflate the money away, and it makes it a bad form of money for storing your wealth. So Bitcoin came along and basically came out as one of the best form of money, and that was in 2009. And the thing with Litecoin is we want to complement Bitcoin and make it also easier and cheaper to send money around the world. With Bitcoin, transaction fees are 50 cents, $1, sometimes a few dollars, and that makes it really expensive to send small amounts of money. With Litecoin, the fees are in the pennies or even sub pennies. It makes it possible to buy coffee, for example, right? You wouldn't want to pay 50 cents for a couple of dollars of coffee, but if you use Litecoin, the fees are minimal.
And you mentioned also about the transaction time. We know there is quite some time before the Bitcoin, I think it's like 10 minutes, the Bitcoin transaction, the block gets validated. What's the difference with Litecoin?
Yeah, so for Bitcoin, on average, it's 10 minutes. So sometimes it's faster, sometimes a few minutes if you get confirmation. Sometimes it could take up to an hour, which is a ridiculous amount of time. For Litecoin, it's 4 times faster. So on average, it's 2.5 minutes. And the 10 minutes would be a really long time for a Litecoin confirmation. And most confirmations will happen in 2.5 minutes, sometimes in a minute.
Wow, that's much, much faster.
It's 4 times faster. I mean, it's very noticeable. When you're using Litecoin versus Bitcoin in real world transactions, the 2.5 minutes versus 10 minutes is quite noticeable in terms of the wait times.
Yeah, and one of the things that obviously is very important to say is also that Litecoin, mainly because it was one of the initial cryptocurrency, is accepted almost everywhere. Is listed on all the exchanges. Is like a well-known currency that people know exists.
Yeah, so Litecoin has been around for 13 years now. We just had our 13th birthday just in October. So that's a long time. And the amazing thing is that the network has never been down. It's been up and running ever since the day I launched it in 2011. And it's been working flawlessly, moving money around the world. And the reliability is very important. If you're using it as money, you don't want the network to go down and all of a sudden find out you can't spend anything for a few hours until someone fixes the blockchain, right? With Litecoin and Bitcoin, things have been working pretty much flawlessly, and that's really important for money. And you're right that because it's been around for so long, it's accepted in a lot of places, and all the exchanges trade Litecoin. liquidity is very high, so it's very easy to move money in and out of Litecoin if you need to. And yeah, it's supported and it's well used.
Alan, I would like you to come in at point because you gave me some really good background of what you have been working on for like making Litecoin kind of like the place for payment, and you were mentioning the growth that has happened over the last couple of years. So maybe you can kind of expand what Charlie said, and also specifically maybe talk about what you oversees and how are you kind of directing this strategy.
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm up. Just first of all, to add on to what Charlie's saying about the importance of something that's stable, time tested, which has also created a lot more liquidity because over the years we built this liquidity. It's not only important, but when we look at the usage and we look at the amount of, like, for example, dollars being spent or Litecoin being spent in terms of USD, we're now seeing, we've gone from like millions of dollars to, on average, several $billions a day in USD value being sent across the network. So that really helped. I think that really kind of gives an idea of the people's confidence in using Litecoin. And billions of dollars is a lot of money, and that comes from knowing that you have a network that's never been down, that's very reliable, and you can trust. So this is really important, and probably the most important thing is the fact that Litecoin continues to be resilient. It's time tested, it's highly liquid, and you can rely on it. So there's that. I mean, in terms of usage, I think maybe one of the questions, we're seeing a lot of adoption in different ways, certainly from usage. In fact, transactions have exploded, to a point where some days there's more transactions on Litecoin than there are on Bitcoin even. And that's pretty interesting to see. Active addresses, which is also kind of a good indication of usage and stuff. Again, they've really exploded, and some days there's even more active addresses on Litecoin. So than Bitcoin. So you have both transactions that are sometimes peaking Bitcoin on a daily basis and active addresses. And I think these things are, I think really important and good to see in terms of knowing that Litecoin is continuing to be used and it's not ignored. If anything, there's growth in various areas. And we can go into more detail, but I think that's really, really important. And so the next step is, well, what does that mean? How do we continue to push for adoption? And one of the key things with Litecoin being money is really helping to see the usage in terms of payments, store of value, helping to onboard merchants, and things of that nature, so that the more people can accept Litecoin, more people can pay with Litecoin and make it easier.
Okay, so you mentioned so many things, and I have a few questions. So when you say about people using Litecoin as a payment, are these like individual users? Are these corporations? How do you segment your audience, your community using the coin?
I think Litecoin is really good money. So and so that means it's good money for whether you're a business accepting Litecoin, whether you're an individual user or a business using Litecoin. If it's sound money, then you want to use it. We can look at some statistics like BitPay, which is the world's largest cryptocurrency payment processor. I believe over the last year, Litecoin has consistently been the number one most widely used cryptocurrency for payments. It basically represents, I think, about 40% of all payments, higher than Bitcoin, higher than Ethereum, and either higher than USDC. And I think that's important because I think there was a recent article by, I believe it was Fidelity, and I've seen some others that indicate that, for payments, a stable coin is going to be the most important and valuable. But Litecoin has at least with BitPay and others, is more widely used. And I think that really shows that that's not necessarily the case. And that, if you're going to move from fiat, then a lot of people look at it as we're going to move to something better, right? Because if all you're doing is really holding another version of fiat money, it might be easier for payments and doing other things, but it doesn't give you the added benefits that Litecoin has in terms of better money. So this is really cool. The other side of that is not only is Litecoin number one in payments for Bitcoin, for BitPay and some processors, but it's actually the most widely used cryptocurrency for payout transactions on BitPay. So in other words, if you're a merchant, you can accept a variety of cryptocurrencies, right? Doesn't mean you have to keep it in that particular crypto. You might want to accept a variety of currencies because you want to open the door to as many people as possible, but you personally don't want to hold a particular currency. So while you have a lot of people where the cryptocurrency has been converted to cash or US dollars, in terms of crypto, Litecoin is the number one choice for businesses or for payouts to businesses. And I think that says a lot too, because it's not only the demand on the use on the user side, but it's showing the strong interest from a business, standpoint, or from a merchant who's accepting Litecoin.
It also likely means that a lot of merchants are keeping their payments in Litecoin. So which is good for the circular economy of people receiving Litecoin as for services and then using it themselves, right? So it's not just a way to convert to US dollar. It's people actually accepting Litecoin and spending Litecoin.
Yeah, and on BitPay, for example, it's higher. They're actually it's in more demand keeping Litecoin than even once again USDC or another stable coin.
So we have seen a government identifying the stablecoin as kind of like the first step into regulation. So we have seen, for example, MiCA in Europe. And then, generally, when you think about the future of payment, the general understanding is, right, this is the stablecoin play. And maybe this is the narrative they push. You are coming here, you say, actually, I have got proof that this is not true because Litecoin is actually one of the most used cryptocurrency in the payment space. And you already brought one argument about, why stablecoin are not great. I just would like to expand a little bit on that topic, giving you, Alan and Charlie, both the opportunity to kind of share some insight on why stablecoin, maybe they are not the future of payments.
Stable coins might be, I think, helpful in terms of bridging the kind of the gap and making it easier to within the cryptocurrency system, or between the traditional finance and cryptocurrency world. But otherwise, it really has the same monetary policy as fiat money. And if you don't think that fiat is good monetary policy because of the continual printing of money, the inflation, the central points of control and everything else, I don't really see how stablecoin offers anything different there. So I don't see really any value there. If the goal is to have better money, right? Better money, and better money means something that has better monetary policy. A limited supply, low cost to store, fungibility. Not the the idea that it's permissionless, decentralized. Those things aren't going to be a stablecoin is not going to provide those things. It might provide easier off ramps, on ramps, but I don't really, unless you are strong, you believe in the dollar and you're bullish on that, then that would be a different story. But otherwise, like with Litecoin and with Bitcoin, there's just several properties that give it better money, much like gold has done over the years. And I think that's also why I think Litecoin's stable enough to pay with and reliable and time tested, but also has, I believe, the strong upside with better monetary policy and just better properties in general.
The good thing about stablecoin is that it makes it easy for people to transact with other cryptocurrencies, right? So if I own Litecoin and I want to spend my Litecoin and the merchant only accepts USDT, it's very easy to convert the Litecoin to USDT and then send USDT, right? Or USDC. So stablecoins make it easy for transactions with cryptocurrency. So it actually makes it easy for people to own cryptocurrency and spend them.
Okay, that's an interesting point. You mentioned about BitPay. Maybe some people are not so familiar with that, so I think it would be good to kind of give an introduction of what BitPay is and what is used, and specifically where is used mainly.
Yeah, BitPay is it's a payment processor, so it's kind of like Stripe. They accept cryptocurrencies for merchants, right? So merchants will sign up with BitPay, and BitPay makes it easy for merchants to accept all kinds of cryptocurrency, including Bitcoin and Litecoin, and some stable coins. So it could be online merchants, it could be a brick and mortar store, and people could easily pay for anything with Litecoin.
And do you see more usage in emerging market, more use of Litecoin as a payment in emerging market, or not really? Or it's kind of like global?
It's very global. Like BitPay's merchants are all over the world. Yeah, and in terms of Litecoin usage, I mean, the blockchain is public, right? You can see transactions, but you don't really know who's spending it and what are they purchasing, or if they're just loaning money to a friend, buying coffee, you don't know, right? So it's hard for us to know exactly how Litecoin is spent, but all we do see is that Litecoin usage has increased tremendously over time, and people are actually moving money around. And that's the key thing about cryptocurrency and Litecoin specifically, is the ability for someone to move value from one place to another with that's fast and cheap, and that's kind of the key features, is just moving value in a fast and cheap way.
And definitely with the world becoming, very different than what it used to be, it's not just about you might be living in a country, your family might be in another, so you need to use it for remittance, but, even buying things, you have got friends all over the world, you do business all over the world. So I think cryptocurrency are definitely important to kind of streamline those type of payments. Now, I know that you are, and you just mentioned, about banking and how important is actually to integrate with banks. And what I know that you have done some work recently to kind of press the accelerator on this integration with banks to promote Litecoin adoption. And I think that's quite, it seems quite important, especially for corporation and retail customers. Kind of like a way, if we look at the future of payments and also transaction, obviously banking and banks are some institution that needs to get integrated with cryptocurrency. So I was wondering if you can maybe summarize what is your approach, your strategy to kind of integrate with banks to promote Litecoin adoption.
Well, we're seeing traditional finance, stepping into the cryptocurrency environment in different ways. From the ETFs is just sort of one way to Fidelities of the world launching, or offering trading services and being able to store Bitcoin. It's kind of hard to say where some banks, what they're doing or not. And the other question is how important is the banking side? I mean, I know we still have that gap where we really need, we're relying a lot on off-ramps to traditional finance. Over time, I think that will become less of a concern as there's more of a circular system where you can buy something, say with Litecoin, that vendor can then use that Litecoin, keep it, and buy their supplies. Let's say they're a restaurant, they can buy their supplies with Litecoin, they can pay their employees. Their employees can then use their Litecoin. So eventually less and less people have to rely on fiat, and the less we're relying on banking in general. But it certainly plays a big role, and I think banks ultimately will find ways to position themselves not to be left behind, and we're seeing that slowly but surely.
The issue currently is that the regulation has been very unclear and likely on purpose. So it's hard for banks to open a Litecoin account for their customers, just like they have a USD account. I think that would be a future I'd like to see us move towards. And with Trump winning the presidency yesterday, I think it will lead to a faster kind of movement towards that future that we all like to see.
Yeah, and definitely I think because, the banking industry is definitely an industry that has to evolve. So, we have seen kind of like the neobank and what is going to be the next generation of banks, right? Are they going to be the one that actually integrate crypto and can open a Litecoin account, can open a crypto account with accepting different kind of cryptocurrency? It's a question about regulation, but I think it's also a question about how banking is going to evolve. And I think they got kind of a stage where they need to do something to kind of like keep up and stay relevant.
Yeah, and now we have like kind of semi-banks like PayPal or Venmo, and you're seeing these companies supporting cryptocurrencies, including Litecoin, right? You can buy and hold Litecoin with Venmo, and that's and send it, right? So that's kind of the first step towards a global kind of banking system where people can use whatever kind of currency they want.
And there's also the other element of like self-storage versus custody, third-party storage. And for those that may be new, and I know some of the listeners, there's different ways that you can store your cryptocurrency, and one of them, and arguably a lot of people feel is the most secure and valuable, is being able to self-custody. And that's one of the great things about Litecoin, is you can hold your own Litecoin self-custody. But there are certainly options to store it with a third party, and obviously there's risks, but there's risks with everything. So I think it's important to know the difference there. But that's sort of another.
The most important thing to realize is the ability to opt out. Right, you can always pull your Litecoin off of an exchange, off of some third-party service, and self-custody it yourself, right? And some people are happy and are comfortable leaving their Litecoin on Coinbase. Some people who aren't comfortable and want to do it themselves have the ability to do it themselves. That is one of the key features of cryptocurrency in general, is the ability to self-custody and own your own money, own and control your own finances.
You are, yeah, exactly. You're just on spot. If you have to give an advice to like the young generation that knows about crypto, maybe has been using crypto, but probably they are not storing their own crypto, what would be your advice?
If some for someone new to crypto, I would say like download a mobile wallet and actually use it. Send money to friends, send cryptocurrency to friends, use it between friends and see how well it works. And once you get more comfortable with it, then you can look into cold storage or being your own bank and using hardware wallets and stuff like that. But the key thing is to actually use it, right? A lot of people invest in cryptocurrencies and they just buy it on an exchange and they don't actually use it. And they're missing out on kind of the great benefits of cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, that's really important. No, I do agree. If you want to learn something, you need to do it. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago when I started to do some DeFi stuff, I was just so new, and at the beginning you kind of make mistake and send you to the wrong address, and then that kind of things that you need to learn as you do. Now, one of the things that I know we haven't discussed yet, and Charlie, you talk a lot about it at in Frankfurt at the Proof of Work Summit, is about the privacy that is actually possible on Litecoin, which is something that obviously we can't find on Bitcoin, and is a very important aspect because we don't want to let other people know what we do, how much money we have got, and I think that's a really important feature of Litecoin. So I would like you to expand on that.
Like most people, I think financial privacy is very important, right? Even if you're not doing anything wrong or anything illegal, you don't want your neighbors or your friends to know how much money you have, what you're spending money on, right? So financial privacy is very important. And one of the kind of features missing from Bitcoin is financial privacy, right? And the other thing is, the other aspect of that is fungibility. And by fungibility, what I mean is that every coin is treated the same way, right? With currently with Bitcoin, if you send Bitcoin, there's history attached to the coin you sent, so people can track and see where the coin came from. And because of that, every coin is a little bit different, and people can deny service based off of your past historical transactions. For example, specifically, if you use your Bitcoin to buy something from the darknet markets, right? And the recipient doesn't like it, they can deny service to you. And that's something that is important for money. Or if you go to a store and you spend $20 to buy something, it shouldn't matter which $20 bill you take out of your wallet. It should be treated the same, right? As $20 worth of value. And that's something that we worked on Litecoin to add a bit more privacy and fungibility to the system so that people can have more financial privacy and be able to spend money freely.
I think it's just such a super important feature, really, really valuable. I think people like that. I think privacy is definitely something that has been a problem when there is like complete transparency.
If you're paying with cash or even credit cards, I'd say like you're already kind of used to that. This more or less the similar level of privacy, right? And the idea that the person that you're the vendor or the merchant doesn't know how much cash is necessarily in your pocket, or if you're using your credit card, doesn't know how much money is in your bank. They just know you have the money to pay for whatever you're buying. This is really no different to that extent, and it's a really basic level of privacy. And that's been a problem because with let's say without that, there's a because you have this blockchain that's transparent, which is very important to have. That also opens up the door to the ability for people to track your transactions, to be able to connect wallets, to see how much maybe different wallets have and things like that. And that's not good for a variety of ways. Not only because of fungibility, but privacy helps protect and safeguard individuals, businesses, finances, and things like that. And up until now, cryptocurrency has really been lacking this. And if we can't do this much, the whole idea of using crypto as money is that it's better than traditional money, fiat money. So if we're not able to at least have the same level of privacy, if not better, then what's the point, right? So this has really been important and something that Litecoin has really stepped forward with.
100%, but it comes also back to kind of identity, right? All this technology is great, but you also want to preserve and own your identity. If all your transaction and your they are all all out there and everybody can basically know what you do, then that is going to impact your identity as well. So I really think there is a, kind of like a strong connection between transaction, what is actually what you do and who you are. And you don't want that link to be, easy for other people to kind of like follow.
But it is optional. I think maybe Charlie mentioned, but like on Litecoin, the privacy level is optional. There's certainly times where maybe you don't care to be as private, and there are times where you want to have that level of confidentiality. And the nice thing is you can choose when to have that and when you don't need it.
It's just a feature that you can switch on and off?
Yes, I mean it's more or less that simple. We're still implementing and rolling this out into to mobile wallets, so it's still relatively young, but this is happening, and the more that wallets have this, the more it'll be used, and the more that it's used, the better it works. And it was designed to be very simple. You can literally send to a privacy address and send right back off. It's made so that the average person doesn't, anybody could do this.
Would the regulators look at this feature in maybe questioning something? How do you think regulators will take that?
I think it's something that's always going to be a fight, right? So regulators or the government in general, if they have their way, they want everything to be open, right? If they have their way, they'd want to be able to read every one of your email messages, right? They want to be able to sift through everyone's email to find out who's doing anything bad, right? But then it's a fight between privacy, personal privacy, information privacy for email versus the ability to catch criminals, right? There's always going to be a trade-off, right? And there's a fine line. Same thing for money, right? The government is using anti-money laundering rules to kind of track how money is moving in order to catch the criminals. But that's kind of to me, that's the wrong way to do it, right? You should catch the criminals some other way, where I think financial privacy is important. So if you're able to look at everyone's finances, yes, it makes it easy to catch criminals, but then also everyone loses their financial privacy, right? So there needs to be a trade-off, a middle ground, and kind of same thing for Litecoin with MWeb, which is the feature, the privacy fungibility feature that we've worked on. Litecoin with MWeb, regulators don't like the fact that they may not be able to track your transactions all the way to the beginning, right? But then I think there should be some privacy, and if exchanges, for example, accept a MWeb transaction from you to deposit money, they can ask you where the money comes from, and you should tell them. You can actually show them where it came from, right? But for other things, if I'm just sending money to my friends, they won't be able to see where the money came from, right? So there's kind of a fine line and a balance, and I think Litecoin with optional MWeb privacy fungibility strikes a good balance.
Yeah, and let's not forget, I mean, there's been data leaks, for example, happen all the time, and this shows why privacy is important. I've personally been involved in at least, with companies I've used in at least probably 3 or 4 data leaks over the last couple of years, and a couple of them resulted in countless scam phone calls, phishing attempts, you name it, and they're very clever and sometimes. So there's big concerns, and we've heard, it's not uncommon to hear stories about even people that have been held at gunpoint or kidnapped. I mean, it's not fortunately too often, but there are these extremes, and this just shows the importance of this basic level of privacy that at the very least that we should continue to have.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think the government is kind of changing its kind of mission as well. It's like a paradigm shift that is really happening, and people need to be empowered, and the government needs to take a different approach that is less authoritative and invasive as well. Obviously, things can happen overnight, but it's great to see that innovation is pushing boundaries. Now, I want to talk a bit about the ETFs application for Litecoin.
Yeah, I can. Charlie might be able to provide a little bit more detail or insight, but we're obviously, it's great, to see that. Not totally surprising to see an ETF filed on behalf of Litecoin. If you look at Litecoin and Bitcoin, there's many similarities. And in terms of the requirements and what allowed Bitcoin to be approved as an ETF, Litecoin meets arguably every single one of those requirements. So it should be, there shouldn't be much push. We're hoping there shouldn't be much pushback in that respect. There's a continual growing demand from an institutional standpoint, traditional finance standpoint, which is why the ETF launched for Bitcoin. So one example is Grayscale has had a Litecoin LTCN, which is their Litecoin trust for a long time, and that's been very, very, very popular. In fact, the premium on the Litecoin trust is 2 or even 3 times the value of Litecoin, which shows the strong demand in Litecoin. And this is kind of an indicator of the institutional demand we're seeing, and it's just, it's inevitable that we would see something from an ETF standpoint, and, Litecoin Foundation will certainly support, and, any way we can grow and help adoption. There are certainly people that maybe feel differently. We don't need an ETF. It goes against the core idea. Absolutely can understand that as well. I think our position, though, is adoption, and the more awareness. Again, going back to what Charlie said, you always have the right to buy Litecoin directly, and you always have that option to store and self-custody your own Litecoin.
Yeah, but Litecoin being a kind of a new asset class can bring in more, an ETF will bring in more investors and people into the Litecoin ecosystem. So a little bit of background about the ETF. The ETF is filed by Canary Capital, which is founded by Stephen McClurg. So Stephen McClurg used to be, he was a founder of Valkyrie Capital, which launched quite a few crypto funds and also a Bitcoin ETF. And Stephen decided to start a new company, Canary Capital, to do more ETFs and more funds. And one of the ETFs that they've applied for is the Litecoin ETF. So I've been working closely with Stephen on this. I'm also an investor in Canary Capital, and try to help bring this to fruition. And we're working very closely, Litecoin Foundation is working very closely with Canary Capital on this ETF and providing any help we can.
Can you give some kind of I know that timeline is not probably the right word, but where are we in the process?
The ETF was just filed, so it's going to take some time, right? The SEC would have to look at it, they would respond, and then there would be some back and forths. I wouldn't expect it to be this year, like the approval, right? It's gonna take some time. But I feel like the Litecoin is so similar to Bitcoin in terms of it being a commodity that an ETF is inevitable. If there's demand for it's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I do agree. It's gonna take a little bit, but it shouldn't be a problem. Now, Charlie, I want to close the interview with talking about the Litecoin Foundation and also the donation that you are making to support the ecosystem. I would like you to tell us a bit about where these funds are going and what type of project and growth you are seeing in the Litecoin space.
Yeah, so the thing about Litecoin that's different from a lot of other coins is that we didn't have a pre-mine, so we didn't print Litecoins for ourselves, right? Litecoin is a decentralized currency. People can mine, anyone can mine it, but there wasn't an initial supply that is created to benefit myself or the foundation. So because of that, the foundation is pretty lean. Like, we don't have Litecoins that we for ourselves that can fund the foundation, right? So I've been helping fund the foundation quite a bit myself. We get a lot of donation from a lot of great Litecoin supporters over the years, and we make money off some partnerships and merchandise sales. So, but then we're very lean, and because of that, I feel like I need to donate more money to support the foundation because we need more funds, right? Whether it's to help with the ETF, whether it's to host a Litecoin summit every year. We do a Litecoin summit. It's a conference focused on Litecoin that people enjoy quite a bit, and I think it's good for adoption and getting more awareness out there, and also to have something for really big Litecoin supporters. So holding that conference costs quite a bit of money also, and then of course we support the development of Litecoin, the core software, and also the MWeb addition to it. So we fund that. We also fund two different Litecoin mobile wallets, and Alan can speak about where else we're spending money. So it's important for us to get as much donation as possible, and maybe Alan can talk about the 501c3 that we have set up.
Yeah, just to add to what Charlie said. So in addition to Charlie being such a generous contributor, over the years, one of the things we're doing, and actually we're going to be updating our website very shortly here and releasing a new donation platform, which number one will make make it much easier for donors, for people to donate, because you'll be able to donate not only via Litecoin and crypto, but via stocks, cards, even donor, like things like Fidelity charitable or donor advisement fund, advisor funds, or a variety of ways that people can make donations. And in addition, we now have a 501c3 set up with Litecoin Foundation. So the added benefit is anybody in the U.S. or those with U.S. income will be able to utilize this donation as a tax write-off as well. So that is that added benefit, which is I think really important, because when you're donating, a lot of people that are donating are looking for also the added tax benefit. And within the cryptocurrency space, it's nice. It's really nice to be able to have this. On top of that, donors will be able to donate to specific projects or to like a general fund. So if you're really passionate about a particular project we're doing or someone else, you could donate to that. And when I say us or someone else, our new donation platform will not only support projects we're doing, but we're also supporting like third-party projects. So we'll have some application process, and people could submit what they're doing, because the whole idea is that we can't do this on our own. Like, in order to grow, we need, it's a community thing. So if you're creating something that's going to help, a project, Stefani, that helps grow the Litecoin community, and you're looking for support financially, there's a process where we can add you to the donation portal, and people could donate to that and directly to not only foundation stuff, but all these third parties that are doing.
I think this is a very important kind of key concept, is that Litecoin is a decentralized cryptocurrency, right? Anyone can use it, anyone can support it. You don't need to ask me for permission to add Litecoin to an exchange, right? And the Litecoin Foundation, the only thing special about the Litecoin Foundation is that I'm part of it, right? That's the only thing that makes it different from any other foundation. Previously, we had a Litecoin association that is very similar to the foundation that is supporting Litecoin in various different ways. We have a lot of different people supporting Litecoin in a lot of different ways, and the foundation is just one kind of centralized company that is dedicated to supporting Litecoin and pushing it forward. So it's being decentralized, like people can use it however they want.
It's super important to mention about that, because, it's not just about the cryptocurrency being decentralized. It's all about the foundation, the organization. What you said, giving founders the opportunity to get donation because they are building on Bitcoin. So you don't have, it's not that you are just trying to get donation for what you are building. I think is very, very important. And the ecosystem, you need to help it. You need to support it. That's the only way that, that amazing application can be built on Litecoin. So it's hard work though. But you are doing great, and I'm glad to know that the privacy feature is coming up, and I also learn about how Litecoin is used in payments, which I didn't know. I knew the mainstream narrative, so stablecoin payments. There was I think a narrative that people need to kind of like analyze better.
Yeah, on BitPay, something like 40% of all transactions were done in Litecoin the past year.
Yeah, which is a big number.
Yeah, and they do, on average, about anywhere from 250 to 350,000 transactions in general over a 6-month period. So it's not insignificant. And this is just one processor. We're also seeing these trends with other large payment processors as well.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing all this information, telling us about Litecoin, and looking forward to see the new developments.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.